Hello everybody, it's a bit dark. Don't worry, we've not had another power cut. Power cuts are really inconvenient. However, what I was going to do is today I want to sort of start off a bit of an experiment. I want to see if I can solar power my vlog, despite the fact it's kind of wintry. So solar panels, not going to generate a huge amount of electricity. I've only got about 240 watts worth of solar panels out there anyway. I'm going to try and keep all my cameras and lights and laptop running smoothly for the next few days using nothing but the kind of wimpy energy coming from the sun at the moment. Now I am slightly cheating because I've had a look at the weather report for tomorrow and it's going to be a nice sunny day, albeit a short November day. Now I have to quickly nip off and get Jasper from school and then we'll crack on with this grand plan. You're crazy, trainers. I'm going to sort out some lighting because it's kind of on the dark side in here, isn't it, Jasper? Yeah. Yes, now I realise obviously that this is mains lighting and I am, for the sheer sake of simplicity and small children, going to need to use a little bit of mains power, unfortunately. But after a day or two, if I've got any spare solar left, maybe I'll try and incorporate some of the lighting as well. But for now, I'm actually way behind and have to do some editing. So, got a good quantity of power in here, I don't know, something like 70, 80 watt hours I think. Enough to run this here laptop for a little while. And then I'll catch up with you a little bit later. And what I'm hoping to do is talk to you about what I think the world would be like if batteries were both cheap and plentiful. Not something they are at the moment, but hopefully soon they will be. Okay, so got that video all sorted out. You know, I'm sort of getting back into it at the moment because I've been in a bit of a sort of, you know, just a bit run down, I suppose, over the last few days. Just generally November blues, really. But it's all looking up now. I'm feeling the return of positivity and energy, and yes! And nothing makes me feel more positive than using homebrew electricity to run things. Not the lighting. Ugh. You know, I probably will get round to using some electricity for the lighting when Soph's not around, because there's no way she'll put up with that kind of thing. But before I do that, I need to go get something kind of critical from the summer house, which is my solar generator, because basically all the power that I have from my meager 240 watts worth of solar panels at the moment goes into a bunch of batteries up in the summer house. So I've got to get that power in here, which is where I'm going to be doing the editing and looking after Jasper and stuff like that. Now I can move power around using this handy little portable battery pack, and that's probably what I will do for the most part when it comes to my laptop. So what I'm going to do is, in a minute, now that this is finished, yeah, this is now finished uploading, so I just need to pop this on my phone and take it upstairs. Luckily the phone has got some power in it at least. Where's that cable gone? Alright. I've been having the odd little go with StarCraft 2 actually recently, just sort of unwind where I find myself with a spare half an hour. Probably won't be able to continue to do that activity if I'm gonna run this laptop off solar power. The biggest problem I've got actually is, and this is the biggest question mark for me, can I actually keep the batteries charged, or is constantly bringing power in and running the laptop and stuff just going to drain them at a ridiculously fast rate? Which, given that it's winter time and the day is like 6 hours long and the sun is low for all of that 6 hours, yeah, there's definitely a question mark on this little experiment. But it does tie in to what I really sort of wanted to talk about. What would be different if batteries were both cheap and readily available? So there was huge quantities of very cheap batteries just available to put to whatever use you wanted. Right, let's finish copying over now. I have to be quite good now at closing my laptop when I'm not using it, because otherwise it just runs the batteries down for no reason. And yeah. So the first thing I think that would be fundamentally different is I see no reason why electric vehicles wouldn't be completely ubiquitous. You know, great big 4x4, a Land Rover or something. If you could build that vehicle for the same price or less, and it would have over 250 miles of range, which is perfectly doable with existing current day technology, why would anyone ever buy the diesel car? It's like basically just going, well, you know what I want to do? I want to have a load of hassle because I have to go and pump fuel into the car every now and again, whether that happens to fall at a convenient time or not. And I also would quite like to pay 300 quid a month for the pleasure of it. Who would sign up to that? And I think equally, who would want to spend money on electricity and gas if they could generate a significant proportion of it themselves and use it in their home? Because I think that's one of the really key things. It's one of the things I'm quite looking forward to from this little experiment that I'm doing, is because I have to generate the electricity that I'm using, it makes me much more careful with how I use that electricity. Things like shutting my laptop if I'm not using it at this exact point in time. Let's close the lid and suspend it, and now look, battery's all gone out now. What are we doing here? So yeah, so I basically took that battery down to about 40% in order to do the editing for this vlog post, which only took about an hour. So you can see that, you know, this has got to go over into the summer house now to be recharged, and that's really the core problem with this for me, is it does add time to everything. It makes life more complicated. Obviously, my little solar panels only can run the vlog stuff. They can't run most of the house stuff like the cooker and the fridge freezers and the car and, you know, TV and stuff. It's just far too high power draw. But at the same time, it's a tiny, tiny amount of solar panels I've got out there. If this roof was covered in solar panels, then I think it's a reasonable extrapolation to say, if I can run the vlog on that tiny little amount, you know, probably not even a square meter's worth of solar panel, then with all the roof being covered with solar panels, I reckon I could run the whole house in the dead of winter on all but the darkest of days. And if I have a substantial quantity of batteries in the garage, then I probably ought to be able to power the whole house, just, you know, without any need for the grid whatsoever. Now this is where it gets interesting, because if everybody had lots and lots of batteries in their garage and loads of solar panels all over their roof, then you could very easily build, or relatively easily, build a system which allowed power to flow around that grid to where it was needed and not available from where it was oversupplied and stored. And you could have a system, a sort of market system, whereby you only export at certain prices. People would have to sort of, you know, bid on the power, so you'd wind up with, you know, maybe the hospital down the road is going to pay the most because they just can't have an outage kind of thing. Something along those lines. There's loads of interesting efficiencies to be had out of a system that enables you to move power around in that way, and distributed energy generation and storage. It's enormously exciting, and it is not the kind of thing that we have at the moment. At the moment, we have the kind of thing where the local grid operator says, no, you can't have too many solar panels on your roof because we can't handle the supply. We can't do anything with it. It's going to cause the grid to be sort of unstable because of the quantity of solar energy that's being generated on that little arm of the grid, which is just shocking that that is the case. And that is basically because of the lack of batteries. Right, I'm gonna go get that big old solar generator, and then it's time for me to make Jasper some supper. Oh. Okay, so portable is bordering on a misnomer for this thing. This solar panel on here, by the way, is just basically a 10 watt trickle charge type thing. I normally plug it into at least a 40 watt solar panel, but wow, I think it clocks in at about 20 kilos. Good exercise. And that isn't the real bummer with that thing. The real bummer is I've obviously got to carry it back outside tomorrow morning so that it can charge up. Oh well. So everything's plugged in. This experiment is going well so far. It's definitely a good deal more effort trying to run this vlog on solar power. But I don't know, there's something I do like solar power. Power you've generated yourself. It's one of the reasons why if I get the planning permission for the solar panels on the roof and I get the power walls installed in the garage, what I really want in life is a big chunky switch where I can just go clunk and that just disconnects me from the grid completely. Because I reckon at least in the height of summer I should have no problem running this entire house on nothing but a little bit of frack-free gas and solar power. We'll see. And I'm guessing probably what I'm going to do is finish talking about the world as I see it in a world with cheap, plentiful battery supply tomorrow. Now, some of you really, really long time subscribers will have seen this before. Oh, hang on a minute. Got a lighting problem. Okay, what have we got here then? We've got a pure sine wave inverter, 5-board multi-adapter with built-in watt meter, 4 12 amp hour 12 volt batteries connected in parallel, a solar charge controller, see, chocker block. These batteries are also freezing cold as well, so I'll get a bit more power out of them in an hour or two. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's vlog post and found it interesting. If you have, remember to like it, share it and subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me on Instagram if you don't already. And I'll see you tomorrow for the next installment of my daily vlog. Bye! Okay, Jasper has been fed and put to bed now. As you can see, because I am the only person who is currently conscious in the house, I've decided to go all in on the solar power front and probably do a bit more editing, or maybe watch a bit of Westworld. I love that series.